Lowe again. Our guest today is an actor whose big breakthrough came on Broadway in A Long Day's Journey into Night. Soon thereafter, he was captivating audiences with his fine portrayals in films and on television, including his mesmerizing performance as an amoral killer in Compulsion. Please join us in welcoming Bradford Dillman. And now, here's your puckish man of the half hour, Skip E Lowe.
You know, living in Hollywood is like, you know, I've been here since I was a kid. And people come up to you and say, are you anybody? Are you someone? Are you? You know, a lot of people are stars, and they still going around, and people are saying, hey, who is that? Who is that? I'm wondering. Well, I have Bradford Dillman just wrote a book, and the book is titled, Are You Anybody?
That's
I
correct.
think that is a great title.
Well, it came out of life, Skip. It happened when I was walking down a street at Universal, and a tram came by, and a frustrated woman reached out and pulled me right into her face and demanded, are you anybody? I mean, with all the stars who were walking around one thing or another, she figured, maybe.
That happened at Universal.
Universal.
But you really started, Bradford Dillman, actually born in San Francisco.
Correct.
Went to Yale. Boy,
Yes,
Yale,
yes.
That is a good school. Drama school is great there.
I wasn't in the drama school.
You weren't?
No, I was in the Yale Dramat, undergraduate sort of thing. But that was a big sacrifice for my parents, sending me back to Yale. I mean, that was a wonderful deal.
But you did serve the Marine Corps, which is my favorite branch, because I entertained the troops in Vietnam, and they were the best, the Marines.
Well, it's a very difficult kind of service to survive, let's put it that way. But anyhow, yeah, and I've been fortunate enough, I've played Marines a few times.
You certainly did. Bradford Dillman, how did you get into the business, first of all?
I decided, following the Korean War, that life is very, very short, and one should do in life what one remembers having done best or enjoyed most.
Right.
And for me, it was the theater, it was acting, because from my experiences in prep school and at Yale, I was in many, many plays. I thought, I'm going to give this a try.
Right.
And of course, my parents, being rather conservative San Francisco people, didn't like the idea at all. But I went ahead and I did it, struck out on my own, and I gave myself a 5-year time limit.
Oh, you gave your time limit.
I did. I did, because I said, I'm not going to waste my life or waste my youth, and if it looks as if it's not happening, I'll go into my dad's brokerage business.
That's what he was.
That's what he was. But fortunately, things took a good turn.
So theater, you studied in New York, did you?
Yes, I did.
Strasberg Institute? Or
no, I studied, well, Strasberg, yes, but it was the Actors Studio.
Actors Studio, yes.
Which was a very competitive place to get in those days. They had hundreds of actors and actresses who auditioned, and they only took maybe 6 a year.
But look at the people you were in the classes with. Was Marilyn Monroe in your class even, I think?
Well, Marilyn Monroe...
Montgomery Clift?
No, Montgomery Clift would have been earlier.
Earlier?
And Marilyn Monroe, she came in later, and at a time when Lee Strasberg was allowing stars and starlets to come in to audit, you see.
Yes.
And the studio became a different place then. But I did see her there, yes.
Shelley Winters, did she teach there? She did teach.
She may be teaching there now, but she was a member there.
She was a member,
Oh, indeed she was. There was a play that came out of the Actors Studio called A Hatful of Rain.
Right.
That she was in. And
that's right, she was in, yes.
That's right, Ben Gazzara, Anthony Franciosa, and...
which she married later. Anthony.
Yes, she did.
Yes,
yes, she did.
And at the moment, as we speak, he teaches at the Actors Studio.
West.
Here, yes.
Yeah, he's a fine actor.
He's a wonderful actor. Very, very first Broadway show.
My first was Well, I actually was a walk-on in something called Inherit the Wind with Paul Muni.
Ooh.
And I got the opportunity to study him every night.
Boy, I want to find out about him.
Well, he was a chameleon, as you know. He
Yes.
could become so many different people.
They're the best kind of actors,
I
the
believe
chameleon
so.
actors.
I agree.
Laurence Olivier,
Yes.
chameleon.
Yes.
Mickey Rooney is a chameleon.
Yes,
that
he
little
is.
impish guy.
I know he is.
He's wonderful.
And you worked with him, of course.
Yes, I have.
Many times.
But the chameleon actors are just...
Well, Paul,
go ahead.
he was special. He was really special. He at that particular point in time, he was having a hearing problem. And whenever he went on live television, the proviso was he had to play a deaf person. And that way they could put a little aid into his ear.
Yes.
And from the booth, they could call down his line at any time that he dried.
That's what I heard too.
But it was an experience just watching him. And Ed Begley, we're talking about Begley Jr.'s dad.
A good actor.
Was, wonderful actor in the same play.
Yes.
But he was overshadowed. Even Tony Randall was overshadowed by this massive talent.
Hollywood. How did Hollywood got Bradford Dillman? I mean, 20th Century must have got you somehow. But what?
Well,
How did that happen?
Fortunately, I had some success in the play Long Day's Journey.
Long Day's Journey into Night on Broadway with...
Well, at that time, we had Jason Robards played my brother,
Right.
and Frederick March and Florence Eldridge were our parents.
But you did also the television performance with... Didn't you just do the movie too?
No, my friend Dean Stockwell did the movie.
Stockwell did the movie.
Yes, with Katharine Hepburn and Ralph Richardson.
That's it. Yes,
that was
yes.
it.
That's
but
good.
Jason reprised his role in that. But it was a wonderful experience. I mean, this was an exceptional play. It was considered to be the opening of the century because this was Eugene O'Neill's masterpiece. And I want to tell you, I was just scared to death because I was a neophyte. I was a kid. I didn't know which end was up. And I was helped so much, particularly by Jason.
Jason Robards.
Oh, yeah, yeah. In fact, he's my favorite actor.
Is he?
Yeah.
I think he's every man's favorite actor. He was such good... Ice Comment?
Yes.
Iceman
Cometh. Yes.
One of my favorite, very favorite. And as a matter of fact, you were in it.
I was in the film of it.
In the film.
Yes, I
was. You
was.
were wonderful in that.
Well, thank you.
That was a wonderful movie.
But Jason didn't get to play the part.
No,
It was played by Lee Marvin.
Lee Marvin, yes.
And that wasn't the same thing.
No, I know.
No.
Working with Jason Robart, he must have... You got something out of there.
Well, you did, because with Frederick March and with Florence Eldridge, both wonderful actors, they would always repeat their performance. There was nothing new. But with Jason, he always came in the big fight scene that we had in the last act, he would come in with something new every night. I never knew what he was going to do. And therefore, it forced me to concentrate and to latch onto what he was doing and to respond to what he was doing. And every night it was exciting and different.
That's good theater actors. That's what a good actor is, a good theater actor.
Well,
that's where you
hopefully
learn.
so.
Yes, yes. You brought me a clip when you went to 20th Century. Is this from 20th Century Fox? Or the clip in Love, in War?
Yes, Skip, in those days, if you were a contract player,
right,
and we were the last of Hollywood's contract players.
You were the last of it,
I believe
yes,
so.
Okay.
Maybe at Universal a couple of years later, but I believe we were among the last.
Right.
Anyway, you were assigned a project, and then they ran a test on you with another actor or actress they were considering to be in the same film to visually
just
see
to converse
whether
if you connect.
Well, to see what the chemistry was like.
Chemistry, yes.
So we ended up, making fatuous conversation. But we were all posing for the brass in the executive building, hoping we'd get the part.
Okay, let's. This is like a screen test.
That's exactly right.
Okay, In Love and War from 20th Century, Bradford Dillman. Let's see it.
One.
Why don't you button up that blouse and fix your tie? What do you think, we're running a military school? Old Sarge, right up there with Mom and apple pie, aren't you? You can button up your lip, too. Is there something on your mind?
No, sir.
Oh, no, sir, me.
No, Sarge.
Take the caps off. Give the number a look. That collar looks terrible.
Crook.
don't you fix that collar? I'm sorry, Sarge. Has anybody ever changed your diapers? This is gonna be good. I know Adler's gonna rock. Tell it right now.
Yeah.
2.
Okay.
See, I'd just like to explain about this scar. Ben and I got a little frustrated this morning, so he belted me with a broken bottle. It should heal by sometime next week and not be quite as obvious.
I like that last clip. Just a little bit from the scout. Smile. Smile a little. Yeah. That's how you like that. Just a little bit more.
I understand you've lived in New York for a while. Is that right, France?
Well, let's say I lived about 5 months in New York, then I came out here without a word of English, like usually. And I spent 2 or 3 months, then to Kauai, then back here a month. And then...
Oh, that's wonderful. I was wondering, when you lived in New York, did you ever get a chance to go to Boston?
Never, unfortunately. Why?
Well, this is the scene of the picture. This is where the picture takes place. And
I'm
this is
sorry.
where you are a nurse in the Massachusetts General Hospital there.
Well, I think I better require for a book or something, because I will never get it.
Have you ever had any training as a nurse? Have you ever worked at it?
Well, I think this is a natural feeling. I like sick people. I've had a mother sick all my life, so...
That's me, sick people. Oh, that's great.
I take care of you, I promise.
You will?
Yes, I will.
That's a promise?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good enough for me. How did you like working on South Pacific?
I loved it. I loved it dearly. It was a wonderful thing. I'm lazy, I guess, and they didn't put me to work very much, and it was just fine.
Well, do you think that the part that you might play in this picture is very different from Leon?
Who knows it? I'm sure it is different. The way that I'm dressed and the way that everybody look at me is certainly different, but I don't think... actually, I don't know very much about it. I hope
It was that Frances
Newman.
Newman. She's beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
Charming. And Robert Wagner and,
And
Jeffrey Hunter.
And Jeffrey Hunter, that's
Wonderful
correct.
actors, wonderful guys.
Yes, and we were all contract players there at the same
20th.
at 20th Century Fox, and this was a standard routine. You went out there and you
Philip
auditioned
Dunn
for-
directed that.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a charming guy.
Charming man, great writer, Philip Dunn. But anyway, France, of course, went on and had a nice career.
He certainly did.
And R.J., Bobby Wagner, went on eventually to Heart to Heart. And the sad thing is that Jeffrey Hunter did so many action pictures. What a handsome
And
man.
he fell off the stepladder or something like
No,
that?
well,
What happened?
Well, what happened was he went on and he did the movie King of Kings, and he played Jesus.
Right.
And he was crucified by the critics. And he became so upset, one thing or another, he began to drink.
He was a drunk, yes, he
But
did, yeah.
he had kicked the habit. Everything was great, and he fell down a flight of stairs.
Stairs, that's it.
And he was
God.
sober
And
when it
he,
happened.
he was sober?
And everybody said, well, of course he was drunk, and he wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, he was a charming, handsome man, talented man.
The movie called Circle of Deception.
Oh, boy.
And tell me about that lovely lady you met in this film, Suzy Parker, who is
Suzy
your
Parker.
wife.
That is correct. She is my wife. We met on
Yes.
this movie called Circle of Deception.
Uh-huh.
And she was a little miffed that she had to do the movie because she had come off 2 pictures where her leading men were Cary Grant and Gary Cooper. So naturally, she considered me to be a step down in class.
#1 model, class model in a world.
That's-
#1.
And I said to myself, they're stiffing me with a fashion model instead of an actress?
Yes.
And so when we began the film, we were kind of shadow boxing, but things heated up pretty quickly.
Lovely lady.
She is. The mother of...
Mother of 3 children?
She and I together have 3. I have 2 by a previous marriage, and she had 1 by a previous
Oh, I
marriage.
see.
So
Okay.
we raised 6.
6 kids.
That's correct.
All in Santa Barbara. Living in Santa Barbara.
And, well, they're all gone now.
No, but
yes,
their children are,
yes.
you've been there for a long time in Santa Barbara.
We have. We moved there in 1968.
Life must be fabulous there.
Well, it's quiet. It's well out of the
Bradford Dillman likes
social
that
scene.
tranquil.
Yeah.
You seem like you like that tranquil.
I prefer privacy.
Yes. Tell me about this book first. Oh, first of all, I'm going to ask you about Orson Welles, cracking the mirror. That wonderful actor, Orson Welles. What
He's
a
a genius.
great, that word, genius.
He was. He was a genius. I wish I could report to you that he was a warm, wonderful human being, but that was not the case.
I know, it wasn't the case,
No.
was it?
But the first time I worked with him twice. In Compulsion, he was very supportive and very, very helpful to both Dean Stockwell and myself. But the second time I worked with him, Dean and I had gotten notices comparable to his, and for some reason he didn't like that at all, and he was out for me. But,
He was?
Yeah, so it didn't turn out as happily as the first time.
But in Compulsion, you got an award, so many awards. I mean, let's face it.
The film did very well.
The film was wonderful. Compulsion was one of the best films ever.
I just wish that today they would return to black and white type movies for some kinds of subjects. It really is so much more effective.
You just used the word subjects, because we don't have subjects in movies today. That word is, there's no subjects, there's no stories.
There's special effects.
That's what it is, all computer size. Yeah. Everything is computerized.
Everything's blowing up one thing or another.
So Orson Welles and you got along okay, that was fine.
Yeah, well, yes.
But anyway, getting back with Dean Stockwell, working with him in Compulsion.
Worked with Dean later on. Yeah, we did a biker movie called One Away down there in South Africa. And Dean actually is a terrific biker, and I can't ride at all. So I had this stunt guy. I would come in and I would lift up my helmet, and then when I was to exit, I'd put the helmet down, and somebody else would dig out. So I never had to do any of that stuff. But I looked great doing it. But Dean actually is a biker.
I'm looking at you right now at Bradford Dillman. Have you had good times living in Santa Barbara since you've been there?
Well, we have entirely different friends, Skip. We have no friends.
What is your day like there when you're not working?
Well, when I'm not working, I'm usually writing or going out and playing golf and being naughty in that regard. But,
naughty? That's fun.
Well, and raised a lot of children in the process.
Are you anybody? This book, as an actor's life, this is an actor's life. This is about you. This is, what is it telling us about?
It's intended to do two things. It's intended to be entertaining, hopefully, amusing, and it's intended to be informative. Because in the course of the book, I spell out all these different pitfalls that actors must face along the line. And hopefully there's a lot of good advice for young actors or people who are intending to take up acting as a profession.
What has been the hardest for Bradford Dillman?
I would say getting the good parts. That is the hardest of all. Because if you work for a living to raise a family and accept just about every script that comes along, suddenly you're not considered to be a serious actor anymore. And therefore the good parts are not offered to you. But that's okay. That's the trade-off, provided that you can put food on the table and raise your family.
Well, this is the good part, Compulsion. I like to show my audience this clip of you and Dean Stockwell, this wonderful movie, and it got a lot of awards.
Great.
From the, I think even in was it in the Cannes Festival?
Yes.
It won the Cannes Festival
Yes, it
Award.
did.
I love to show this clip, Compulsion. Thank you.
The perfect crime.
Crime. Oh, my wealthy fraternity brothers. $67. And a second-hand typewriter. I told you to leave it alone. No, you were so scared you froze to it.
It was the first time, Marty. The next time it'll be all right.
If there is a next time. When we made the deal, you said you could take orders. You said you wanted me to command you.
I do. As long as you keep your part of the agreement.
What was the big idea of that?
There was a man in the road. You didn't even see him.
Yes, I did.
Take it easy, Artie. You'll get us stuck.
Hey! All right.
Come back here.
You drive.
Come back here. I want to talk to you. You trying to kill somebody?
He's drunk. We better get out of here.
Like that?
Wait a minute. Stop.
You're smart, don't you?
What?
That way.
We come back here. I'll show you who's smart.
He's asking for it. Give it to him. That's an order, Judd. Faster. Get him! Hit him!
Wow. That black and white is so strong and so powerful. Well,
Bill
camera
Mellor.
work.
Bill Mellor was the cameraman on it, and I think he just did a remarkable job.
Oh, God.
But what makes this particularly harrowing is that this was a true story.
It was, yes,
The
of
Thrill
course,
Killers,
of course,
Leopold
of
and
course,
Loeb, yes.
Of course, it was a great story. Looking back, would you do it the same way, Bradford, or would you do it something a little different?
Do you mean in
In
terms
your
of my
li- in
career?
your- yes,
In setting,
yes.
To tell you the truth, Skip, I don't know if I'd even be an actor. I think I'd be a football scout.
Really?
Yes. You asked me what I do with my spare time. I scout college players.
College
for
players.
the
That's
pros.
what you do in...
San Francisco.
Really? I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Yes.
How interesting.
I go up there every draft day, and I have my sleeper and do all the rest of that.
And you scout for football players for
San Francisco.
Cisco. How interesting.
Well, it's wonderful. It's very important, as I point out in the book. If you're an actor taking this up, you had better have something you care just as passionately about as you do acting. And that way you may not be aware the phone hasn't rung.
Give me 3 words to describe Bradford Dillman. You know, when I think of Bradford Dillman, I want to tell you, go ahead. Give me 3 words.
Well, that's interesting. I would like to think amusing.
That's
I would like
interesting.
to think family man.
Uh-huh.
And I would like to think talent.
Tell me about your wife.
Oh, she's
must be...
oh, she's beautiful.
She's so bubbly, and you're so conservative. It's so Brooks Brothers.
Well, not as Brooks Brothers as you would think. She
Okay.
can tell you about that.
Okay.
No, I'm no fashion plate, that's for darn sure. But we've had a wonderful marriage. We've been together since 1960.
Uh-huh.
And we've raised all
What
of these
makes it
children.
so wonderful, Bradford, that your marriage so long? And
Well, I think 2 reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, we share a sense of humor.
That's
and
very
it's very important
Yes,
for
yes.
one person to be able to back down in
True.
the course of an argument. And second, candidly, is the fact that I spent so much time away. I was always off on location doing one thing or another. So she had time to forget what a trial I can be. And when I would return to my family, it was always some kind of conquering hero. So separation definitely makes the heart grow fonder.
writing this book, are you anybody?
Yes.
Enjoy doing it? How did you start doing this book? What did you, where did it all,
Well, it all came about...
from this woman I know, or whatever, go ahead.
It all came about because I would tell stories at different dinners and one thing or another about what a wacko profession the acting profession is, and somebody said, why don't you write some of them down? And so all of these war stories that are in
Yes,
here have come out of that, because it comes out of 44 years of having done this, and and had very, very amusing, entertaining experiences mixed in with the frustrating experiences.
So you would say that Bradford Dillman has had a good time?
I've had a great time.
How about your children? What are they doing?
I have only one who has taken up the profession. She's very talented, and she's very beautiful and all of that. But so far, she has not had luck. And if you don't have luck to go along with talent, it just isn't going to happen.
You believe that very much so.
Very much.
You believe you must have that that certain thing. It's called luck.
You must have.
If you don't, and if you, I mean, you can't help it along a little. You do help it along with.
Well,
you know.
I find, for example, I have worked primarily for directors I've worked with before. Now, for me to be signed by a new director is almost an impossible task. Particularly since the filmmakers today are very young, and they don't know anything about me or what I've done in the past, and so you're back to square one. You're back to what you were in your early 20s, going into these casting offices.
They're all young girls, 20 years old. They don't know any, that's true. They don't even know Shelley Winters.
What?
No, they don't. She had to go home and get her Oscar and place it on the desk and say, this is what I've done. They always say, what have you done?
I believe that, sure.
It is incredible, these young little kids. They don't know.
Well, they run the business now, like it or not. And if you don't like it, get out of the business.
What has been what's your favorite film that you've done?
I would say The Iceman Cometh. I had the opportunity. That was, of course, another O'Neill masterwork.
Yes.
And I got to play the part of Willie Oban, who's the drunken lawyer.
Right.
Of course, they're all drunks and derelicts.
Derelicts and O'Neills. Right.
Sure.
Strong.
But I would say that...
Was he a drinker, O'Neill?
Oh, yes.
He was a drinker,
Yes,
so he was, yeah.
Sure. And he was married to a former actress named Carlotta Monterey.
Yes.
And she was a tiny little person. And she had this erect, kind of regal carriage. And... obviously was a great beauty in her time, but her relationship with him was volatile. She would tell stories about how she would punish him for having different transgressions and so on, and really stuff that got your heart started. They had a stormy relationship. But he could not have been an easy man to live with, let's face it.
Orson Welles, any good stories you can share with me for my audience? I love Orson Welles. I interviewed him with Joseph Cotton, too. I love Joseph Cotton.
Oh, what a gentleman.
Oh, and his wife, Patricia Medina.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, he was. He was Southern. He was charming, charming.
I will tell you a story. It's not my story. It's Darryl Zanuck's story.
Okay.
But it's typical of Orson Welles. Orson always had a chip on his shoulder because he felt that he was treated unjustly by the Hollywood community because people just didn't want to invest money in him anymore.
But he was treated unjustly at the...
Well, he certainly thought so.
Yeah, okay.
And there was one producer, I can't think of his name, but Welles could do a whole 15-minute number. You hear the man's name, he's going on that SOB, you know, blah, 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 and how much he hated him, and if he ever saw the guy, you know, how he would punch the swine, all of this. So one night, he and Zanuck in Paris are in this restaurant. And a note comes over, and it's from this very man. And he says, "Dear Mr. Zanuck, I never had the opportunity of meeting you in Hollywood. Would you come to my table and have a drink?" And Zanuck shows this to Orson Welles, and he says, "I'll take care of him for you." And he goes over, and the man stands up, and he says, "Mr. Zanuck." And Zanuck reaches in and picks up a bottle of champagne out of the cooler and pours it over the guy's head.
Oops.
Turns around, and he looks to Welles for applause. Welles has vacated the restaurant. He's nowhere to be found. In other words, all talk.
All talk, yeah.
Big coward.
Isn't that amazing?
But a gift, let's face it.
Katharine Hepburn.
I have never worked with Katharine Hepburn, but boy, am I a fan of hers.
Great.
I worked with Henry Fonda, who was with her on Golden Pond.
That's right. Tell me about Henry Fonda. Yes, you did. You worked with Henry
and I worked with Jane.
And Jane. That's right.
Jane and I were in a play, a misnomer called The Fun Couple, that opened and closed in 2 nights.
In New York.